I'm curious. Uh, how often do you just go walk to take a walk?
It's a great question. Actually, not that often.
Ah, ah. My
How
uh,
about
my
you?
coach wants me to, well, just get moving because we tend to have these sedentary lifestyles that not you because you've got the horses, but I'm either just standing in the kitchen cooking or I'm here working and just go take a walk. Walk to the beach. The beach is literally right there. Go walk to the beach. And so I'm just curious, how many people just go do a thing like that? Just go take a walk. Get outside, go take a walk.
One thing I can tell you, my Kimberly does that all the time,
Well,
which
she's our
I admire.
nation's wilding expert, so she better be outside walking.
True. And the one of the pieces that I recently it was like, oh, I actually need to do that. And a couple days ago, I did a big loop that was here that I thoroughly enjoyed.
Right?
Um, and as soon as you ask that, one of the things that is interesting is that there's some pretty recent research
Mm,
that suggests that walking a half an hour 4 times a week is as effective as an antidepressant medication.
huh. I would absolutely buy that. The just walking is just enjoying everything around you. I happen to live in a lovely neighborhood that is lots of trees, lots of birds. It's very hilly. It's diverse from a just visually. I'm not walking in a suburban cookie cutter home neighborhood. It's
Right.
there's
Yeah, actually, I've been
yeah,
to your house. You
yeah,
where you live is
yeah,
gorgeous.
yeah, yeah. We love that. Well, I brought that up because I'm thinking about I've got a 3 hour break in the day, and it's like I can't not have things planned. And it was like, you know what? I think I'm going to go take a walk to the beach, and because my coach wants me to walk more, I'm going to go tell him that he can take me off the Prozac now because I'm going to just start. He's Dewey Freeman. I'm Mark Sylvester. We're the Elder Council.
Good morning. Good
Uh,
morning.
I wanted to tell you this story and let's see where this goes. So you're familiar, and I may have told you, but I've not told our audience. The year of the horse, the year of the rat, the year of the dog,
Mm, hmm.
right? So in Chinese astrology. So I was born in the year of the snake, 1953, and
Okay.
so there's 12 of them, 12 signs of the zodiac, the 12 animals, and but they also have another distinction that every cycle, it's the water cycle, the air cycle, the earth cycle, the fire cycle, so the elements, right? So
Mm,
you can
okay.
have a
So both
uh
animals and elements.
yes. And so I am particularly 1953 was a water snake. Okay. So I'm a
Mm,
water snake. And it has all of the things. If you were to, those who know me and you know me, and then you read the quality of a water snake, you'd go, yeah, yes, that's that guy. So before Christmas, I think it was before Christmas, I was talking to my daughter, and I have an 11-year-old grandson. I've got three grandkids, but the youngest is 11. And I don't know why that subject came up. It did. And she says, well, Dax is a snake. I went, oh? She goes, and let me look. And she looked and goes, yeah, he's a water snake. And I went, okay, what?
no kidding.
What? So again, I don't believe in coincidences. The universe is trying to tell me something. So I go and do the research and find out. Okay, so snake and then water snake compounds that. But grandson, so mind you, it only come water snake comes around like that every 60 years,
Every 60.
right? Because it's 12, 12, 12, 12, 12,
Okay.
right? So water, earth, fire, air,
Oh, right.
right? So
Water, earth.
I'm forgetting, and water, earth,
Okay.
fire, air. There's a fifth one that I forget, and I'm gonna get mail. I know it, so I'll know it by the time you send me mail. I will be able to reply.
Okay.
But it's a cycle of five, so it gets you to 60.
Hmm.
And well, I'm 60 years older than him. So the just the coincidence of all of that was really interesting to me. And I said, well, what does that mean? If I've always wanted to be a grandfather, I've talked about that. And my youngest grandson, we have a bond that is, according to this, phenomenally interesting. And I learned in September that he's been homeschooled since birth, and they have to do a California state test for all students, right?
Oh, right. Hmm.
And
Like an achievement test.
yeah, it's called the STAR test, and it's math and English language. So that's what they study, or that's
Hmm.
what they test for. He's testing at the 12th grade level.
No kidding.
Yeah, he's 11.
At 11 years old.
11. Yeah, and um, uh, so I'm thrilled about all of that, and I talked to him. We talk at length about deep stuff, just because
Hmm.
he and I can have, like, he doesn't lose concentration when he's talking with me. It's like he'll sit there and we can have a conversation without him being squirreling out, doing that,
Got it.
right? So I got into my AI and I said, here's the situation, and I would like to figure out what are 20 interesting conversation starters that I could have with Dax. Sounds fun, right? Like, would be interesting. And it was like, my AI was like, oh, how exciting is this? Oh my gosh, these are going to be so great. And it gave me 20. And I was trying to figure out uh, how, what would be an interesting way to have the conversation. So I liked podcasts. So I created a podcast called What If with Pops. And I asked this question, what if? And that, which is the key into the 20 ideas. And it's 15 minutes long. I have one listener, him. And it's designed for one
Hmm.
listener, him. And what I do is I write this story about this thing, and then and Sam, my AI, helps me craft probably a 1,200 word essay, which is well, about 8, 9 minutes long. And
Hmm.
but here's what was interesting is I asked it to also give me the sound design. Sound design is, um, we hear the prehistoric, we hear dinosaurs, or we hear birds, or there's lava, or there's whatever. You have there's sound design cues, and so I do these on Saturdays, and I've been doing them on Saturdays, and I uh, found, like, I get these really great sound cues because I listen to things all the time, and
Hmm.
I love rich, like, I feel like I'm there, right? So that's
Hmm.
me just by myself on Saturday afternoons trying to recreate as much of that as I can. Then I push the episode to him. I spend way too much time on it, but I love it so much. And like, for instance, like, you can't go get a sound effect of a dinosaur walking in the forest. Now, if you're Spielberg, you have your Foley guy. Foley is the act of making the audio, right? Those guys they can
Hmm.
make any sound. He just has a list of sound cues, records them, and then they edit them in. I don't have that guy. So I found, you'll love this, a site that does AI voices. So they've nailed AI voices. Like they're the best in the industry on AI voices, a place called 11 Labs. Well, it turns out they have a little side hustle, which is sound effects, computer, AI generated sound effects. So you just go in and you type the thing that it says, I need dinosaurs. And it gives you four variations of it. Some good, some bad. It's hit and miss. However, however, I found another site that makes the prompt that you fit into the sound effect AI. So if you say, I want dinosaur beats, it knows how to describe it in a way that an AI can then make the sound you
Uh,
want, right? And so that I am so far in that rabbit hole that it is, but he listens to it. And the first one, so my first one is called what if we lived on Mars? Like, what if we lived on Mars? And then uh, the idea of deep time. So if we took a 24-hour clock and we start at the beginning with Earth, we as humans have only been on the planet for the last second before midnight,
exactly.
right? So I did a show on that, and then I did what if the asteroids had not killed the dinosaurs? Like, had they been allowed to evolve,
Hmm.
because they're very smart, and we look at birds and we look at there's lots of evidence of intelligence in animals, as you well know, and how do we tap in it? So it was that. Well, he's and I give him challenges in the podcast, like to think about stuff and not just take it in, but
Mm-hmm.
like I want
Hmm.
interactivity. And so he says, Pops, I want to do a podcast with you. I've been saying that for a little while. So I sent him a full rig, microphone, headphones, the whole deal, sent him the rig. He's so excited because what we're going to do is after he's listened to it, then I'm going to get him on the air and then we'll have a conversation between the two of us and talk about like the questions I asked, the big questions, and stay tuned, huh?
So, what do you think makes him so excited about this? Because this, I mean, your idea is like mind-blowingly wonderful. What do you think draws him in? Because I have no doubt that I could go out and find probably however many 70, 71-year-old grandfathers that would have an 11-year-old, and I know you have other grandchildren too, but in this case, an 11-year-old boy, grandson. What do you think draws him in? How? Because what you have done is you found a way to deepen your relationship with him.
I think that my desire to be connected to him, my goal in life was to be a young grandfather since I was 12.
Hmm.
I've wanted to be a grandfather. So that's happening. Okay. That's happening. And wasting even one opportunity feels just tragic to me. It's like, dude,
Totally.
this is what you wanted your whole life. Now you have it.
Hmm.
Enjoy it, lean into it. And so I think he feels that without being
Hmm.
overbearing, but I mean, he feels that I deeply want to be connected with all three of the boys and that I want to have an important role in their lives. And I want to um, create opportunities for that to be deeper than just throwing the ball around or playing frisbee. Like,
Right.
right? Because you and I have talked about your grandfather. Your relationship with your grandfather is I mean, you're named after your grandfather. You know,
Yeah, I very likely. I don't know, it would be quite this dramatic, but I, what I can say is my life would be very, very different
Right,
without my
right, right,
having my grandfather.
right.
I was going
And
to say I don't know if I'd be alive. I think I'd be alive, but the depth and the the quality of my life would be very different.
so I didn't have, I had 1% of that. I never met my mom's dad, and my dad's dad, I only got to see once a year at Christmas. So I don't, just didn't know him and didn't have it, never had alone time with him, never had a chance to hear about his life or anything other than through my dad's eyes. And my dad and his dad did not have a good relationship. So,
Mm,
so I got a negative vibe. Though, however, there was one time I got to spend a week with them, and um, I came home and he was a bit of a racist. Uh, and
your father,
my grandfather, not my
oh,
dad.
your grandfather.
Yeah,
Okay.
just vocally. And I hadn't been around someone like that before. And that was a little startling, but I'm 10 or something, 8. But I mentioned, hey, my mom, hey, how was it? And I said, oh, I learned a new word. Ooh, I never got to go spend time with them again after that. So I figured, okay, many, 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 many friends have great stories about their grandparents. And so I want my grandsons to have great stories about their relationship.
Mm,
It's a generational connection that I think
hmm
it's not just me. I don't think I know anymore or have great wisdom to impart, but I think that paying attention and caring and having them know I've got their back, and that now, as my oldest one is not at home, he's at college now. I want him to
hmm
know that I think family is this support system. And again, I did not grow up with any of that. So I now want to live into that, paying attention to him. Our oldest grandson is in college at the Maritime, UC, the California State Maritime College. He wants to
No
be
kidding.
he wants to be a merchant marine. He wants to work in the ocean doing something. Could be in fisheries.
Hmm
It could be, who knows. He's like, he's open to all of it as long as there's boat and water involved. And he's now Cadet Sylvester. Is so it has the rigor of the military. I had that for fourth and fifth grade, military academy, Catholic military academy of all things.
That's
Um,
interesting.
and he texts me, and I'm proud that I've gone out of my way to stay to really be active in paying attention. How's it going? What are you doing this weekend? Without being cloying or you know what I mean, or needy, right?
Hmm
That's I don't
hmm
want that. But he texts me and he says, Pops, I know you're really good at improv. And in my English class, we had to do impromptu speaking. And it made me think that it's kind of like your improv. And
mm
I wrote him back and I said, it's exactly like improv. And there's some tricks that will make it feel like it's impromptu. But if you use this trick, you're going to be able to blow people away with your ability to just tell a story or talk about a thing off the cuff, and it'll feel like, oh my God, where did that come from? If you listen to these 5 simple rules, which we teach in storytelling school. And I
mm
did this in text. And the analogy was because he likes to golf and he likes to fish. So I told him how you can tell a 5 sentence story about golf and then a 5 sentence story about fishing. And he just in all big huge letters, wow, he wrote. But that's an example of a kind of
mm
thing where 10 years from now he will have told a story and someone will say, "Oh my God, what is?" Yeah, my pops taught me how to tell stories in a text message.
For you, uh, this is a pretty big deal. What do you what do you get out of that, and what do you believe that any or all of your three grandchildren get out of
So, a great question. In that, um, I'm going to relate it to why do I do TEDx? Why have I been doing TEDx for 15 years? Why am I self-identify as a member of the TED community and look at that as the purest form of community service I can do? So there's
that?
literally nothing in it for me. It's full service to the ideas and in service of the ideas to the benefit of the community, the people who get exposed to an idea through a talk and it could materially affect their life. So the win for me is I was able to facilitate and create a space for that thing to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I just feel good, um, honestly giving with literally nothing coming back other than the satisfaction of giving. And until I'd gotten involved in the TED community, I always gave with there might be a really thin string, but there was always a string attached in one way or another. I was giving because hopefully I could come back and turn it into a client or ask for money, whatever. There was always
Mm-hmm.
a motive, and I it really hit me 15 years ago when I was asked, why do I do that? And I answered it in much the same way I am right now. And now that you've asked the question, so if you have community service, what's family service? I don't know that that's even a thing, but for this conversation,
No, I
let's,
actually I was gonna go there. So go ahead, and
yeah. So it's
I'll
family service. So it's the
add
same
on.
exact thing. Like I'm doing this not because I want to feel better or I'm not doing it for any objective other than there's an opportunity to be an important person in your family and to be intentional in your family and be able to. For me, it's uh, it. I was at a conference once and it was one of those, you have to go off and write and come back and talk and all that kind of stuff, which is, it's all, I love those kind of things. But for me, the words that came up, the two words were, every moment matters.
Mm,
And, and because I thought about how many people have come back to me in my life and said, remember that time when you told me X? This is what I did with that. This is how it impacted me. This was and I like, man, like that little thing I said was a 45-second or a 90-second encounter, but it was the little rock that hit the asteroid that moved it, right?
they moved at a 1 degree that
Right.
made it miss whatever.
Butterfly effect.
Exactly.
And and I've just been in this unique position where people tell me those things for 40 years, last 40 years, very specifically. And so I comport myself accordingly,
Mm,
right? The interaction that I have with some random person, I don't know that that's going to be the thing. Hey, you know, and they see me a year later or 2 years later said, "You're that guy that smiled at me and I was having a really shitty day, and that kind of changed everything." And it's like, phew. So that the what's in it for me is that knowing that I'm doing my damnedest to be present and to not um, discount that my state affects other people's state and to not and to pay that the honor it deserves.
I absolutely love what you just said. Are you, would you be good if I add to that a little bit?
Please.
So one thing I will say, I just want to, I'm not coming up with the right word, but just want to support the idea of people have effects on us that we don't know. So I have this, and then I have one more thing I want to add. I was in my early 30s and went back to my hometown and went back to the school that I went to in kindergarten and grade school. And it was at the end of the school year, and I happened to walk into, and I purposely was looking for this teacher. Her name is Mrs. Sowers. She was my kindergarten teacher. And she was packing all of her stuff. And I thought, oh, well, it's the end of the year. She's packing all of her stuff. Well, it was actually her last day. She was going to retire. And I shared with her, and that this was somewhere between 25 and 30 years after I was in kindergarten, how important she was to me as a safe place to be. And she never knew that. And both of us teared up and talked about our lives and shared, and we're grateful. And there is something, and there's something about her, but there's also something about being with a person who is 2 generations older than we are. You know, there's the child, the parent, the grandparent, the child, the parent, the elder, those kinds of situations. As a grandparent and as an hopefully elder, we get to have the opportunity to be with our grandchildren or those who could be our grandchildren in a clean way. That we have not had to discipline them. We have not had to see them through, you know, when they got kicked out of the classroom in 6th grade, and we've not had to, you know, in adolescence, we didn't go through the child going F you and running out the door. And that there's a level of eldership that we get to, we're privileged to be in relationship with an 11 or 12 or 15 or 20-year-old that we have not had to go through those super heavy duty hard times with, of disciplining and of staying up all night and when they're sick. And it doesn't mean the grandparents don't do some of that. I get that.
There's a lot of that.
Right. But there's a opportunity for a relationship without all of that baggage. And I have experienced that as a therapist and experienced that as a teacher of being able to move relationally and be relationally with someone without baggage to have to clean up before we get there. And that's what it feels like you're doing with your grandchildren. And I know that I know you very well. I know many things that you've gone through and many very, very difficult things. So I'm not saying that that doesn't exist. I'm just saying that it's a different dynamic to a relationship. And speaking of TEDx, when I did the TED interview with you, which was 3 years ago, I forget how long now, is we talked about that intergenerational piece.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes 3 generations to change something. And in that, um, the when we as grandparents or when in an elder role, we get to speak to 2 to 3 generations younger than us to help them heal from the generational stuff that happened between us, between age wise and years wise, between them and us. I'm not saying that the trauma was between them and us, but or the loss or whatever, but we get to help someone heal and step into a different role because we're 2 to 3 generations older than the people we're talking to. Um, and we have a different context in life than an 11, a 15 or 20-year-old young person. It's almost like we get to skip the bad stuff to get to the good stuff.
That's we around here we call it collapsing time, and
Beautiful.
because I want to, like, I do not want to change your path at all. However, I'm going to let you know I'm also I self-identify as a Sherpa, and what does the Sherpa do? The Sherpa is hiking with you. The Sherpa has put oxygen bottles up ahead because they
Mm-hmm.
know you're going to need oxygen by that time. So a coach of mine 10 years ago, he looked at me and goes, "Oh, you're a Sherpa." I was like, "Huh, I guess you're right." So ever since he called
Exactly.
that, I said, and so the Sherpa, so if that's true, what else how would I show up in my relationship with my grandchildren if I am a self-identified Sherpa? I'd make
Mm-hmm.
sure the oxygen bottles were there, and I'd make sure I let them know what things are coming up. They're going to trip and stumble and hit a rock, and things are going to happen that beyond my control. Yep, yay. They're going to have
Mm-hmm.
their own journey. However, why not have a little help? Why not have someone who's got your
Exactly.
back? Why not, like, going through the world by yourself sucks. Having to solve all the problems on your own, as you and I both did a lot, sucks. Are we tougher, stronger, more battle scarred? But we lived through those scars, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so if we can say, hey, you don't need to take that one. I already took that bullet. You can take a different bullet,
Exactly.
right? And I love that. So as we round out here, how the people that are listening right now, the intergeneration, they've got the kids and they think about they're thinking about their parents, but it's their children's grandparents. What I'm just thinking about how they could maybe reframe or rethink or have a conversation with their parent about being grandparents. Pretty sure they've not
Mm-hmm.
had that conversation. What do you like about being a grandparent? How could, what could we do to give you more of that feeling so it's not just on Thanksgiving and Christmas?
Right.
What
Right.
could we do?
Well, one thing is to make sure it's not just on Thanksgiving and Christmas and your birthday.
Yeah.
That's number one. But number two is one of the biggest pieces that we as elders or grandparents need to do is to ask, what was your experience? What is your experience of whatever is going on? What actually and here's sort of how I see it, is our job as a grandparent or elder is to ask the grandchildren, what is your experience, and help them with that. At some point, that person in the middle of that middle generation between us and the grandchildren, that person in the middle needs, for their growth and to change relationship, it's time for them to ask the grandparent, what was it like for you? What is your life like right now?
What a great way to end it. I love you, brother.
I love you too so much. I know that we do these shows or chats. I sort of think about them as fireside chats.
Mm.
And hopefully for those who watch, they get something out of it. What I will say is every time we talk, whether it's in this format or any other format, I get a tremendous amount out of talking with you.
I love you, man.
So thank you. I love you too.